Thank you, Savannah. Good morning, Fadzine, to all of the students who have joined us this afternoon. We are very appreciative of you all being here, and we're so excited for you because we know this is such a big opportunity for you considering studying in the United States. As Savannah said, my name is Max McGehee, and I am an international recruitment and admissions counselor here at Western Kentucky University. And this is where we're calling from. This is our beautiful campus. Western Kentucky University is voted one of the most beautiful campuses in the entire South of the United States. Everything that you see here in this photo is associated with our university. All of those red brick buildings, the white brick buildings, and all of the trees and green space in between is all a part of WKU and what's known as the Hill. This is where our students come to campus, where they take their courses, they live in their residence halls or in the surrounding area and commute in. This is where all of your academic courses take place, as well as our international student office. We have a special building on campus located just for you all and for your resources. We help you with every step of the way, from admissions to once you arrive on campus and all the student services that we provide. Even after you graduate, we still work with our alumni, helping them to maintain status in the United States and seeking out employment if that is your desire. A little more about WKU. We have about 1,000 international students, and they come from 70 different countries. We have a very diverse population, and it's growing every semester and every intake. This new intake for the fall semester, we're expecting the most diverse student population we've ever had. Just a couple other things to point out. Though we are a larger university with about 20,000 students, our average classroom size is still only about 24. We have an 18-to-1 student to faculty ratio, and those together mean that you will have very individualized attention in your classes. You'll have the opportunity to know your professor very well and work alongside with them, collaborating both on in-class work and potentially out-of-class research, which are all very important for your portfolio and when searching for jobs. One other thing I'm going to point out on this list is that we are what's known as a safe community. WKU is one of only 4 universities in the entire United States to have obtained this certification from the National Safety Council. And what it basically means is we are one of the safest places to live and study in the entire United States. At this time, we're going to move forward and we're going to talk to you all a little bit more about what the admissions process is like for universities as a whole within the United States. We're going to be talking about today the admissions process, some of the common academic and admission requirements, some things for you to remember, and then the mistakes that you should avoid, and then the things that you must do in order to be successful. We hope that from this you'll gain a overarching understanding of the admissions process in the United States' educational system. And again, at the end, we'll have opportunities for questions for anything that you all might want to know about. The first question that you all will be asking yourself is, where is it that you want to study? Because you all are here today, you have at least decided that you're interested in studying in the United States, which is wonderful. However, as you know, the United States is quite large. We have 50 states, 48 on the continental portion. We are located in Kentucky, which I don't know if you can locate it there on the map, but we are on the eastern part of the United States, about halfway between the north and the south. Bowling Green, Kentucky is about an hour north of the border between Kentucky and Tennessee. But you'll see there's so many states here, so many options to choose from. The most popular destinations for students tend to be the East or West Coast, but there's one thing I'll let you know is that typically students who study in those areas find that they have higher costs associated with them. The cost of living is significantly higher, tuition is much higher, and overall you'll end up spending more money. where if you were to study in a state like Kentucky, which is away from the coastlines, everything tends to be less expensive. Kentucky has one of the lowest costs of living in the entire United States. We also have a fairly mild climate compared to the north or the northwest, where temperatures tend to be much more cold during the winter. These are all things that you need to consider when choosing where you will be studying. Sometimes when you are finding what is your best fit for school, some of the things you need to consider are the size. Do you find that you are better suited for a large university in a large town? Or are you more comfortable with a smaller college and a smaller town feel? That is very important for your access to resources, faculty members, class size, things of that nature. Another portion that you should consider is the location, as I just mentioned, and what the different locations can mean for your costs, for your quality of living, and how all that can affect your studies. Of course, I mentioned costs and how they can change depending on your region of the United States, but then you should, of course, consider the exact cost of each university as well. You should consider what their tuition is like, the cost of living, and what the overall cost and how affordable that will be for you. Of course, I mentioned WKU's class size and student to faculty ratio, and this is something you should look at for all universities. If the student to faculty ratio is very large, that means that on average, you're going to be in classes where there are an overwhelmingly number of students. And those larger classes make it more difficult for you to have a relationship with your professor, which at the end of the day can mean it's more difficult to find them in their office during office hours and get any extra assistance that you might need. And so you should compare how large the class is to how large the school is and what is best for you and your personality and what you need for to be successful with your studies. The next portion we have on here is to consider campus activities. Are there international student organizations? Are there academic clubs? Are there athletic organizations? What is it that you're interested in, and how do you plan to be involved in the university? Campus activities are a good way to meet other students, both domestic and international, and can also lead to opportunities for on-campus employment, even for employment after you graduate. And with that being said, consider the internship and job opportunities that each university offers. You should look at their career and service center. How do they help you preparing for job interviews? How do they help you look for employment? Are there job opportunities on campus, or are the only opportunities for work or for internships off of campus? All of these together will help you to find the best university built especially for you. Consider what it is that you're looking for, and then match universities to your interests. Next, we're going to talk more specifically about how to apply and some of the common admission requirements for universities as a whole. Note that different universities or colleges will have different requirements. Some will ask for additional things, some won't ask for all of these materials, but overall, this is the general trend of what universities in the United States will request. The first is an application fee. Some schools will require an application fee, and the majority of the time, this fee is non-refundable and must be paid before your application can be reviewed. Make sure that at the end of your application, you are paying that application fee. And often, counselors will contact you if you have not paid the fee, letting you know that they will not review your application until they have received that fee. You must submit all portions of an application in order for it to be considered complete, and this includes the fee. The next and most popular, which I'm sure you all are aware of, is the transcripts. Excuse me. Most undergraduate universities will require to see your high school transcripts. They'll want to see your scores from your high school years, and they'll do their own evaluation of these. Most universities will do an in-house evaluation. WKU is one of those, for example. We will look at your transcripts, and you don't have to have an evaluation done from an external party. We do all of that in-house completely for free for every applicant to our university. The next is a proof of English proficiency, and I know that you all are calling in from an English-speaking country right now. Most universities will still require a type of proof of English proficiency. For you all, this can typically be done in the form of a letter from your high school stating that you were instructed in English. However, if your school needs additional proof of proficiency, that usually comes in the form of an IELTS or a TOEFL exam. And there are varying levels that schools will ask for you to meet in order to be considered proficient in English. Some schools, not all, will require a standardized test score like the ACT or the SAT for international students. Schools like Western Kentucky University will not require these scores for admission, but we might require them for some of our scholarships. So you should consider taking one of these exams if you want to be considered for scholarships. And as I said, some universities will even ask for this for your admission. A letter of recommendation is also popular. When you're asking for a letter of recommendation, be sure that you're asking it from someone that knows you very well. However, this is not from a family member or from a friend. This is usually from a member of your community that you know very well, possibly from a religious organization, or most often they are from your teachers. When asking for a letter of recommendation, make sure that you ask them for this letter with enough time in advance. Typically, an appropriate amount of time is about 3 weeks. And the final portion of the common admission requirements is a personal essay or statement. Some universities will ask for this type of essay. They're usually only about 1 page long. And in this letter, you're explaining your desire to study in the United States, especially with that particular program, and what you hope to accomplish from your studies. Moving forward, we have a couple tips for you and what to remember when applying. The first is that your online applications may require a separate login. So be sure to keep this written down somewhere safe so that you can reference it later in case you need to save the application, log out, and then log back in at a later time. I already mentioned the application fee. Make sure that you pay this when you are submitting. And then check your email inbox after applying. Most universities will send you an automatic email response stating that they've received your application. If you've not received it, be sure to check your junk mail, and you can be sure, and if you're checking your junk mail, you're making sure that it's not going there and will be coming to your inbox. This is very important. Many schools will be communicating with you in this manner, and you want to make sure that you're receiving all the information in a timely manner. And then, of course, email your institution if you have any questions or if the online application is confusing. Counselors are always there to assist you and answer any questions that you might have, and they're even available by phone call if that is an option for you. Some things to avoid is to miss a deadline. Deadlines are always posted on the institution's website. Make sure that you are abiding by those. And note that deadlines are set for a reason, and if you miss the deadline, your application most likely will not be considered. Or if your application is incomplete by the deadline, you will not be considered. So be sure to research the specific deadlines and keep a journal or a notebook with these dates written down. If you aren't asking questions, then you aren't learning and obtaining all the information that you need. So be sure to do so. And as I said, an application without all of the requirements is considered incomplete. So don't fail to submit all documentation. Be sure that you are providing the university with everything that they are requesting. And don't omit any information either. Be sure to proofread everything before you submit. Be checking the spelling of your name. Be checking the address that you put down. All of those are very important, especially for immigration reasons. When your I-20 is issued, it needs to be printed in your exact name as your passport, and then it'll be shipped to the exact address that you print as well. So those are two very important things that you need to make sure are correct, but make sure your entire application is correct as well. Things you should do is apply early. Again, be researching those deadlines and don't miss them. Ask questions to your counselor. Save your online application or write it down somewhere so that you can reference the application later. Be sure to hit submit. This sounds simple, but we have many students who complete the entire application, but they fail to hit the submit button, and therefore we cannot receive it or review it on our end. Make sure that you scroll all the way down on the screen to find that submit button. You must be providing all of your secondary or post-secondary information to the university. If you are applying as a transfer student, we do need all documentation from any higher education institutions that you have attended. And then, as I mentioned before, be sure to type your name correctly. We will answer all questions about admissions and scholarships at the very end. And so we're going to move forward to understanding the scholarship process. I know this is very important for you all. Generally, what is it that you aspire to be? What are your hopes? What are your dreams? We asked you at the beginning of this presentation where you're wanting to study, but does where you want to study have an effect on the industry that you're interested in? What career are you searching for, and then where do you see yourself down the line? All of these are very broad questions that you should be asking yourself and will play a big part in choosing your program and then determining your future as well. This is just an overview of what we will be talking about with scholarships. It'll follow a very similar format to our admissions process. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, a scholarship is a forward of financial aid that does not have to be repaid. Typically, these are awarded to students based on either their academic, athletic, or artistic merit. And then grants are often called gift aid because they are also free money, which don't have to be repaid. There are a couple main sources where scholarships and grants come from. The largest and most lucrative source tends to be from the college or the university itself. There are typically scholarships for international students specifically. There are also scholarships for all students as a whole from the university itself. We'll be talking more about those requirements, but if you remember before, an ACT or an SAT score is typically required for university scholarships. There are also scholarships specifically for your program, and those will need to be researched on your own, but you can find that information on a university's website. As I mentioned, a college or university typically has the most resources for your scholarships, and you should look into those well in advance before applying to make sure you're not missing any that might be available. Government agencies might have scholarships. These tend to be very specific for students who want to study a very specific program. They're also very particular to your home country. And the best advice I can give you is to work with your Education USA office to make you aware of any type of government scholarships, any type of grants that might be available from your home resources. The third and smallest source of scholarship, but there are still possibilities of funds here, are from alternative sources. These can be anything in your home country that have a sponsorship for you to go abroad. There are even alternative sources within the United States based on your field of study. There are professional organizations, for example, and sometimes those professional organizations have scholarships for students to go and study in a university and then begin working in that career field. My best advice is to research scholarships online for international students, and you can find that there are many sources, especially within the United States, for those. They might require extra applications, but all that extra work is going to be worthwhile in the end for the amount of money that you'll be saving and helping you to achieve your dreams that you are aspiring for. The common components of your scholarship application looks very similar to your requirements for admission. The first is usually a personal essay. The writing portion is very important for committees when they're reviewing your scholarship application. They want to get to know who you are as a person. They want to see your personality, and they want to see how you plan to use this scholarship to enhance yourself both professionally and personally. So be sure you are being very clear and concise, but also original when writing those essays. The application might ask for a resume. They want to know what work experience you have, volunteer experience, the type of awards you've received, any relevant academic experience you might have. Be very detailed in that resume, showing what you are able to bring to the table as an applicant. You might be asked for a letter of recommendation, and as I mentioned before, for admissions, make sure that you're asking someone with plenty of time in advance and that this person knows you very well but is not a friend or a family member. You may also be asked to provide the academic transcript again. Usually, if this is a scholarship through the university, they will not need to see this academic transcript because it's already on file. But if you're applying for a scholarship with the government or with alternative sources, they might need to see an additional transcript. When searching online for scholarships, universities will also have a page dedicated specifically to scholarships. You can see in front of you, this is what the Western Kentucky University scholarship page looks like. We break it down into scholarships for first-time freshmen. We have scholarships for even current students, transfer students, and then you can see there are scholarships for specific departments as well. Typically, a university's page will have a portal where you can find all these scholarships and research where you might be eligible for these scholarships. When you continue through our page, you can see that they break it down further. Under scholarships for first-time freshmen, it shows you all scholarships that are available here. And if you were to click and open those, it shows you the requirements for each. Make sure that you are researching your scholarships well in advance, not only for your deadlines, but also knowing the type of information that you will have to gather to apply for that scholarship. This page is an example of another university, UNC Charlotte, and the scholarships that are in their scholarship page for that they're providing. This is what their portal looks like. Again, you can see there are scholarships for incoming freshmen, transfers, current students, and then they even break it down for graduate students as well. A couple of myths to debunk for you all today about scholarships. The first is that only the highest performing students receive scholarships. This is not true. There are many scholarships out there and available for students. They may not all be full scholarships or half tuition scholarships, but they might be a couple $1,000s here or there. And for those, you don't have to be the highest performing student. At Western Kentucky University, for example, our international students are eligible for scholarships based on just their GPA on the American scale, and that starts at a 3.0. And if you meet that criteria, you are eligible for those funds until they run out. But there's no extra test scores needed, and so that shows that you don't have to be some of the highest performing students, that there are scholarships available for students of lower academic quality. When I'm out on the road doing recruitment and admissions, a lot of times I receive questions about earning a full scholarship and can you just sign up for one. Students often have this misunderstanding that universities have full scholarships to give to any student who asks for them. For most universities, this is not true. It is very difficult to receive a full scholarship, and for those students, you do have to be some of the highest performing, top caliber academically students in order to receive them. But the flip side of that is there are scholarships at lower value where you don't have to be some of the top performing students. And again, searching and applying for scholarships is not too much work. Students often believe they have to go through many hoops to make this happen. But as I showed you on a university's website, they make it very clear where their scholarships are and what the requirements are for them. And usually once you write one personal statement, that can directly apply to other scholarships, or with a few minor changes, it can apply to other scholarships. So mistakes to avoid: just like with applying to a university, you don't want to miss a scholarship deadline. Make sure that you're researching that in advance. Again, just like with applying, make sure that you are submitting all information. You don't want to omit any type of required documentation. An application is incomplete without everything that scholarship source has asked for. Also, check the admission or the scholarship requirements and make sure that you are eligible for them. For example, if this scholarship is for a particular program of study and you are not planning to study within that field, you are not eligible for that scholarship and will not be considered if you apply for it. So don't waste your time in applying for scholarships that you are not eligible. The last bullet point we have here is to be sure to vet your scholarship sources. Make sure that they are legitimate and not a scam. And the best advice I can give you for that is to work with your Education USA advisors to make sure that these scholarships are legitimate. I can tell you that if it's from a university, those scholarships are real, but if you're finding alternative sources online, make sure that they are legitimate and not asking you for personal information that is not needed for that scholarship. Some things to do, just like when applying to the university, apply early. Some scholarships are on a first-come, first-served basis, and so the earlier you can get your application in, the more likely that there are funds available for you. Be sure to proofread thoroughly. Make sure everything is spelled correctly. It conveys the meaning that you intend. Are all of these bullet points looking familiar to you? Typically, the suggestions that we make are very similar, both for applying for the university and for scholarships. Make sure that you're compiling a list of all that's required from you. Check it off as you go. And that you completely read all the requirements and guidelines, making sure that you've done everything that's requested of you and that you're not missing any component of the application. One final piece here is to take your scholarship award letter with you when you go to have your visa interview with the officer in your home country. You'll want to prove to them that you have not only been admitted to a U.S. institution, but that you have means of paying for it. This is a big part of your visa interview. Don't be afraid to ask any sorts of questions. Anytime you have a doubt, reach out to your counselor and ask them. They are more than willing to assist you and answer whatever this is. That's what their job is, and they're here to help you every step of the way. At this time, we're going to move forward to questions and open it up to you all.
As we had kind of spoken about earlier, you are welcome to send us questions via the chat icon. You can also send us questions via WhatsApp. I know that I'm connected with Fozzie on WhatsApp right now. But in order to access that chat, there's just a little chat icon. It should be at the top of your screen. And it looks like a little speech bubble. So do we have any questions from anyone?
Anyone have any questions? You're welcome to chat us via the messaging box, as Savannah has said. If your microphone is working, you're welcome to ask those questions through the audio system. We are here to assist you all with whatever doubts you might have.
We'll give it just a moment here.
Okay, we did receive a question from Fozzie asking if we are on the Common Application. Western Kentucky University is not on the Common Application. However, our application process is much simpler than that through the Common App because we're not requiring letters of recommendation. We're not requiring any type of essays. You can find our information on our website, and there's a button that says Apply to WKU. And that application is very simple to fill out. It takes about 5 minutes. All it's asking for is your personal information. We just need your name, address, some biographical information, and then some other details, but we're not asking for any type of personal statement or letters of recommendation. So it is a very quick process, and we do, once we receive those and then all your application components, we can review and issue an admission decision in about 2 business days. It's a very quick turnaround. That's a good question. The next question we have is, do you have any athletic scholarships? Yes, we do. And actually, many of our international students are participants on athletic teams here and receive scholarships from those teams. Western Kentucky University is Division I with the NCAA for athletics, and we have just about every sport that you could imagine. Many of our international students are involved on the track and cross country team, the tennis team, golf, basketball. We have many students involved in many different athletic areas, and many receive scholarships that are half scholarships or even full scholarships. So that will come through the coaches themselves. But the best advice I can give you is to email me personally and express any interest that you might have for your athletic event. And I would be more than happy to connect you with the coach and then see what they might be able to do from the recruitment process and then how that works with scholarships. We'll make sure that Fozzie has our contact information and that you can get in touch with us at any time. That's a great question. The next question we have is, can a scholarship be canceled if a student is struggling with their grades? That's a very good question as well. The simple answer to that question is usually yes. Most scholarships will have some type of academic requirement that they must maintain while they are a student. That varies by the scholarship and by the institution, but typically it's asking for you to maintain enrollment at the university and to not be failing any of your courses. This varies, as I said, depending on the scholarship. usually the higher the scholarship award, the higher the grades that you need to maintain to keep your status. That's a great question. Do we have any others? Can a student get multiple scholarships for WKU? Absolutely, which is the exciting part. Students are able to earn scholarships from multiple sources, and then you can combine those together to amount to a larger scholarship sum. And so if you were to receive, for example, scholarships from my international student office, and then you receive scholarships from the university and then from the program department that you're wanting to study, you're able to put all those together and use those toward your education. WKU will recognize any scholarship source, so whether that's from your government agency, from alternative sources, or from the university itself, we can put all those together for you to deduct that from your total cost of attendance. Do we have any students from Zimbabwe at WKU? We do, and we've had several students from Zimbabwe in the past. I cannot tell you the number of students off the top of my head that we have, but as I mentioned, we have some of the most diverse international students that we've ever had here at WKU. This year in particular, we're expecting the largest representation from countries from across the globe, several from African countries. And then we have many students who come in and then they act as ambassadors for us. And we have had students from Africa act as ambassadors on that team for us. Okay, we have a question about the climate at WKU. That's a great question. If you all remember during my opening about choosing which state, you should be considering the weather of the different areas of the United States. By Kentucky being more centrally located within the U.S., our weather tends to be a little more mild. During the winter, we'll get down to about -1 degree Celsius, and during the summer, it'll climb to about 32 degrees Celsius, and will range anywhere in between those for all 4 seasons. We do experience all 4 seasons. In the spring, our trees bloom and we get a good amount of rain. The summers tend to be a little warmer and more humid, but then the falls are very cool. The leaves change colors. And then in the winter, we do have some snow, but none of those are overwhelming by any means. It is a very temporal climate, and everything is very mild as well. The next question we have is, if you do undergrad at WKU, what is the process for graduate programs, and is there any advantage to applying from WKU? Absolutely. So if you were to study here for undergraduate, we do have about 30 graduate programs. And so if you were wanting to study in one of those programs and remain here at WKU, first of all, that would be very easy with your CVIS record. The transfer process would be very simple in terms of switching that over and helping you maintain in status. So it's even easier to remain at this institution than to choose a different one. However, we do have very good career and academic services made available to our students who can assist you in finding the best institution for your graduate studies. They can assist you with that application process, review your essays, your personal statements, things like that. And so we do have a great team made available to you that is very unique here at WKU for assisting you in pursuing higher education after your undergraduate years. One additional advantage to remaining at WKU for your graduate study is that you don't have to worry about transferring any of your transcripts to other institutions, because you had your studies here for undergrad. We already have your transcripts, and that makes it very simple for that admissions process. And you've already proven yourself to be a successful student, and so that does help you in the admission process from the grad school. they do view that more favorably? That's a great question. Are you strict about your SAT scores for admission and scholarships? Good one. For admissions, as I mentioned, we don't require the SAT or the ACT, which is a good thing. It makes your admission process easier on your part. You can submit an ACT or an SAT score for English proficiency, but as I mentioned already, for you all, the easiest way will be to submit a letter from your high school stating that you were taught in English. But for scholarships, yes, it is fairly strict in terms of your scores. If you go onto our website from the university's scholarship page, you can see the academic merit scholarships are based on your GPA and on an SAT or an ACT score, and those scores fall within a range. And so you must fall within those ranges in order to be considered for the university scholarships. However, my international office does have scholarships available for students without an SAT or an ACT score. So there are options for students who are not wanting or don't have the opportunity to take those exams. Do scholarships ever come with some requirement to do unpaid work or similar conditions? There might be some scholarships that require something like that, not typically from a university. If a scholarship is asking for some type of volunteer service, that's usually from an alternative source. And so that will be listed explicitly in the application for that scholarship. So it won't be a surprise to you. You'll know that that is a requirement. And then you do have the opportunity to turn down the scholarship if you're not interested in participating in that unpaid work or volunteer service. But usually academic scholarships from university don't have any type of work or volunteer requirement associated with them. The next question is, what sort of admissions deadlines do you have, and what are the advantages of applying early? That's a great question. Right now, Western Kentucky University's admission for the fall semester has come to a close. We do allow students to apply fairly late, up to about 3 weeks before the start of the semester. And so that applies for both the fall and the spring. So we do allow students a wide timeline for applying, which is very beneficial for students to gather all the information that they need. If you're making a last minute decision, if you were able to gather additional funds and make that possible, that's why we try and extend our application season. The advantages of applying early, though, usually come from the immigration officer. By being admitted to a university early, you're able to receive your I-20 even earlier, schedule your visa interview, and have plenty of time to complete all of those steps. Also, by doing an early application and admission, you're able to show the officer that you are very serious about your studies, and then you're more likely to be granted your visa to come to the United States. I know many students are worried about being denied a visa and the costs associated with that. One good way to avoid that is by applying to the university early. As I said, you're able to prove to the officer that you're very serious about your studies, and this isn't just a last-minute decision that you're making. The last question we have here is, can students combine scholarships that they earn? The answer to that is yes. So whether it's from the university, whether that is from alternative sources, you're able to put all of those together. The university, like Western Kentucky, will typically accept all of those and discount that from your total cost of attendance. And so whatever sources you're able to put together will help you in decreasing your total cost. So that's why it's very important for you to apply to all that is out there and available for you, because at the end of the day, it really is going to help decrease your overall costs. Well, if that is the last question that we have, Savannah, I would really like to thank you all for being here. Okay, I think we have one more. besides the number 10 ranking, why should I come to WKU? That is a fantastic question. And I think the best reason for you to come here is because you have arguably the most supportive community that I have ever encountered. I was a student here at WKU and I now work for the university, and that's because I felt completely supported by everyone in all departments. Our international office, we are some of the largest international student offices of all universities. Most universities have an international student office of only about 2 employees. We have 10. So we are 5 times greater than the average international office size. And what that means for you is you have very personalized attention. We're able to provide you with all the resources that you need. And one good thing from our office is you have the opportunity to work in the United States. All international students are granted that opportunity for when they graduate. That is called OPT, Optional Practical Training. And we have officers here in our office who their sole job is to help you navigate that process. George, he's one of those counselors, and he has a 99% approval rating in placing students in their OPT career fields. So one good reason to come to WKU other than our number 10 ranking is that you have an almost guaranteed job placement if that is something that you're looking for. We're able to help you navigate that process, find those opportunities, and then work with you through the application process all the way into placement. We help you maintain your status through everything. And so no matter what your dream is, we are here to help make that possible for you and can really help you achieve that. We have another in here. Oh, thank you all. Our International Student Services really does a lot for our students. We welcome you in every semester with an International Student Orientation where we spend several days with you. We help show you around campus, get you acclimated to the Bowling Green community because we really want you to feel like this is your home because it is for the next couple of years while you're here. Bowling Green is actually a refugee center, and so we are very accustomed to having international students, international families and culture, and twice a year in the community, they do international festivals as well. So we very much celebrate international culture here, which I think is fairly unique for a university. We put that at the heart and soul of what we do. We want you to have a good experience, but we want our domestic students as well to have the chance to learn from the world, from what all of you have to offer. And I think by our robust international student services, we're able to help you achieve that while you're here. So if there aren't any other questions, we really thank you all for your time. Fozzie should have both Savannah and my contact information. If you all would like more information about the university, if you would like assistance in applying, if you have any general questions about the admission or scholarship processes for universities as a whole, feel free to reach out to us and we would be more than happy to assist you guys in whatever you might need.
Thank you so much for your time today. Again, if you guys need anything, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.